Hey Siri, call back Elliot.
How are you feeling about doing this?
Pretty nervous.
My baby sister Dominique was only 9 when anorexia took hold. In the 14 years since, our entire family has researched treatments and read books. None of us truly understand what it feels like to be Dominique, to have spent more than half her life in the grip of such a potent condition. I want so much to help, but only now is our relationship at a point where Dominique, I call her Nietzsche, is willing to share her reality.
I haven't really talked to anyone about it apart from one really close friend who really understands. So it's scary that I potentially am putting my name as, reconfirming that, I guess.
But you're someone that lives with an eating disorder, you aren't the eating disorder.
Yeah.
When I see someone else with anorexia, I just feel just overwhelmed with what they're going through. People are frightened of it and don't know how to approach it. It definitely hurt me for a while because they don't understand or they don't choose to ask and learn.
It's a perfectionism thing for me. It started from a really young age.
For years, Nietzsche's kept her eating disorder hidden and tried to manage the problems in silence. I admire her for opening up.
So, do you want to double down? Do you know the double down? I would either.
I'm nervous about filming at a cafe because Dominique is too. No one wants to make a point of the food, and yet we're all watching and willing her to eat.
Have you had breakfast?
She can feel it. I want to ask her about the foods that are safe and the ones that are scary.
Can you tell me about the restriction? Like, it can be that you stop having something someday and then restricting.
It's sort of like it just sets the benchmark that if you've gone without this for one day, then you're okay without it for next. It's just a set of fixed rules. It's not following your body's hunger signals. It's just a day by day. This is is what works. And so now I've just learned that even if I'm not hungry, and I still haven't fully established the right hunger signals, and I just know that in my mind. So even if I'm not hungry, I don't let myself go without. Because the next day it's going to be even more challenging for me to put that back in.
So there's a point when you get there that you kind of freeze. Can you tell me about like what's going on when it comes time to order?
Yeah, you just freeze up and then all of the thoughts going on, I suppose. It's hard to know who's in charge.
So when you say who's in charge, what do you mean by that?
Nietzsche or anorexia and what anorexia has to say about the situation, because sometimes it can just dominate.
What's Nietzsche wanting? Do you want to order?
Yeah.
Have you got it?
Yeah.
Hi. Can I just get anxieties around food, what you eat, and just this people can be so spontaneous and not think about it. And it takes a lot of mental energy to just talk to yourself and meanwhile be social on the level that they are and have that flexibility.
What foods do you allow yourself to eat and what foods don't you?
It depends on this. If it's something that is okay with the anorexia's rules, right? Vegetables, lots of meats.
So I guess like I eat pretty healthy and sometimes I wonder what the threshold is between that and then it becoming a disorder.
I feel quite, I guess envious of other people, like, because a lot of women are health conscious, but they, it's in no way threatening to their health. It's all positive. I can't go there because it's not safe for me. If you go there, you're all there, because if we give anorexia an inch, it'll take a while. Do you enjoy it?
Yeah.
I'm the eldest, Nietzsche is the youngest. Ours was a truly happy childhood. We lived on a farm with loving, gentle parents. I remember a happy, healthy, fun little girl. She was the very best at everything she tried. But little did we know that with every success, Nietzsche put more pressure on herself to do better. And this is where it started.
And somewhere along the line I asked Mum what an eating disorder was, and yeah.
You didn't even know what it was. Yeah. But Mum and Dad knew.
We could graph her height to weight so that we had a clear indication of where she was. The BMI jumped to below 14, wasn't it? Yeah, and models can have heart failure below, like a similar amount. The heart, the muscle of the heart is starts to get to a point where it can fail. So Nietzsche was in the hospital.
She was 11 and so unwell that for 3.5 months was confined to a hospital bed and fed through a nasal gastric tube. Even the slightest exertion would have put her organs at risk. So she was only allowed to move around the hospital in a wheelchair. Dominique is a survivor. The dark shadow of anorexia has been a constant in her life.
How many times do you think you've sort of I've lived there a few times. I could do the times like I couldn't tell anyone because I know mum and dad were so scared. But yeah, my heart was hurting. And then emotionally is another thing. There were times when I just felt like giving up because I felt like there was no way I could get out of it. It's really difficult to live with. Sometimes when I felt low anyway, and then go out and it's like projecting that, but also any judgment can really hurt.
Now she's 22 and coming to the end of a degree in psychology. It's helped her to understand anorexia.
It's almost like sometimes people feel it's their right to point out that someone's too thin, but they would never do it, or it's socially wrong to do it if someone's overweight. For me at the start, even being asked what anorexia, what it was saying to me, it was a really difficult question to answer because it's a belief system that's so ingrained. It's not like you've got a voice talking to you in your head. It's just there. It's what you believe.
Yeah.
We didn't spend that much time together.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Yeah, and sisters. Yeah.
She's like the prototype.
In the early stages, her paintings were the only glimpse we had into her inner world. She felt so much shame. But research now reveals that in 60% of cases, it's inherited. Across 2 generations, all of the women in my family have had some degree of eating disorder.
What happened when I got married, actually. And then
Right, yeah,
I
well, I
couldn't
actually
control
had to
cooking or food, and I think it was just then that I decided I
maybe
was
it
going
was that.
to try and do something to make myself feel better about myself. And so that
It
was
was 11:23.
from 20 to 26, and the biggest reason I got through it was I just wanted to have children. Now I've got 5.
It doesn't make sense.
Which is really cool. And Dominique, she tried so hard at everything she did. She was a little perfectionist.
She was just a little kid trying to deal with a serious mental illness. Nietzsche actually hid food, hoping everyone would think she did. But Mum recognised the behaviours. How did you find it?
No, I'm not. No, I have that.
Lunches, muffins. Yeah, so fun. I really don't know how much she understood. I think it's just such a strong
Right. I think this
voice
is
in
her,
your head.
like I had a missed call, I
What you
think I
call it.
remember when I was telling
Telling you.
Creed.
And what about like in the weigh-ins and stuff started? Like how, you know, there were ways of making stuff heavier and stuff for those days. You can talk about that.
Yeah. I'll just drink water. It was just the fear I'd see in mum and dad and the consequences. Yeah, so you're scared to lose weight and you're scared to gain weight.
Right.
When I was younger, the Lions Club were trying me in trouble and anorexia in trouble, and that's when I got really hurt. And you wanted to
I
do anything wrong,
just
and
to
you all started those things.
I can send you a message on you because they said that you don't, they take away your number. Right. Well, just so you know it was me, because it's probably random numbers.
When Nietzsche was 12, we made a short film. It was about a girl who was running away from something she didn't understand.
Where like Drew did the same thing this morning. He's like, well, but he's gonna
Strange little narrative, but do you think that it's kind of what was going on? I was running away from home because I stayed down the farm for a long time because I was just so lost.
The thing that's really hard is that
People said if I leave this number,
and it's probably, it's because you see it from Nietzsche's perspective as well. She knows she's not silly. She actually knows how hard it is for us. And so she feels, and one of the biggest debilitating things about anorexia is shame. It keeps the door wide open.
It takes more.
This is the first time we've really been able to talk about it.
It does.
For quite a while, I had to be reliant on everybody else to know where I was at because I just got so I can't trust myself in the way I saw
That's true.
myself. And that came through a lot of therapy as well, and people would say that's anorexia talking, and that was a big part of what really hurt was that it would actually be me talking, and so I sort of lost all
Change it.
my self-judgment.
Right. Usually they will.
So it's not a
automatically
question
change it.
I normally ask you, but it's something the audience might. Have you ever thought that you were fat?
No, I have seen really thin girls as well, and I don't want to be that. So, but it's just not this
Right.
idea of perfect, and then I know in my logical mind that there is no perfect.
I came to the gym to get physically stronger. Yeah, I still work pretty hard. So I just do really low intensity, and the focus has been on doing weights and things to build up my bone density, because that also can get really low, like lead to osteoporosis.
It's been hard for Dominique to have a normal life. Because of her anorexia, her well-meaning friends and family often question her choices. She's training at a gym and assures me it's a positive thing.
I come into the gym and I know that I've come in with the wrong state of mind, and I know that anorexia is in charge of hormone, and it's just about telling someone, and it helps get their support.
While she's opening up, Dominique quite rightly sets boundaries about what she'll share. I can sense she's really uncomfortable looking at her body in the mirror. Maybe I've overstepped the line.
Yeah, it is confronting. For me, it's more about what other people are seeing and being really conscious of that. But body image can change on a daily basis depending on where you're at in your mindset. There's a big idea that you see like cartoons and stuff where we look in the mirror and see a huge image of ourselves, and for me it's not like that. I don't know if I see myself accurately, but I see myself as pretty slim.
Yeah, Nick Callahan.
I generally just come in and keep my eyes down and focus on what I have to do. Sometimes it's been like, she's anorexia, she shouldn't be here, what's she doing at the gym? And when you know that you're doing the right thing and you're being true to yourself, then for me anyway, it doesn't eat away at me as much, because I know that what I'm doing is right for me.
So I thought it was 7 minutes. Go nice and low and drive for the legs. Feet shoulder width apart and big step out forward. I think the main thing training Nietzsche and someone else would be is that our goals are very different, and that this isn't weight loss related. This is more about health and for the future. And for her, about making her body strong so she can accomplish those goals of recovery and to actually feel strong in her own body and be happy. Well, I've had the eating disorder myself. I used to be very badly bulimic, so we relate to a lot of things. I can give her tips on what helped me, what didn't help me, and how we kind of like sisters in a way. Well, not really like, PTs and stuff. We message quite a bit. There's a lot more communication that I would have with Nietzsche than I do with my other clients and stuff. It's a bit more professional, whereas for us, it's not that professional anymore. I mean, it is professional, but we know a lot about each other and personal stuff. So this time last time, you're going to squat, I'm going to stand there. So the time we did basketball, yeah, oh, that's true.
When I come in to see you, I think that's something that makes it so much easier is that you've got that first-hand experience if I need to start to explain myself, it's really difficult because it's not that personal experience.
Yeah. My mum was actually quite, at the time, really embarrassed to speak about what I'd gone through. When people were like, what's wrong with her? Why did she come home from Wellington? Why did she in uni? Mum would just be like, oh, she's just really stressed. She's too embarrassed to speak about it because I think she actually didn't really know what it was herself. So it was kind of like a hush-hush, don't talk about it kind of thing. And the last week I found out that two of my cousins, one's 18 and I think both of them are about the same age, are actually have an eating disorder, gone through really, really bad depression, and have gone through exactly what I had gone through and I'm going through right now.
I don't think Nietzsche has ever wanted to look thin. It's easy to explain away anorexia as evolving from a pressure from media advertising. But that just doesn't fit with what I'm doing. Nietzsche would actually like curves.
I feel uncomfortable wearing anything that's really short, like short dresses, short shorts, anything sleeveless or flanglets and that sort of thing because I've seen where people's eyes go. Yeah, it's not that I can't wear them, but it's just being a way of kind of protecting myself when I go out into the world and not having that extra attention drawn to me. What people see as the symptoms of anorexia, and it kind of sometimes can get in the way of deepening understanding.
Yeah.
It's not something that I wear every day, but the biggest thing that I love to be able to wear times later to begin.
No.
It's such a heavy subject.
Anorexia. I gotta do French.
It's so great when she breaks a smile. Psychology has been the perfect choice of study. At times it's been confronting, but it's helped to understand her condition.
It's hard to say at times. They distinguish bulimia and anorexia and say that anorexia has far worse outcomes. And basically the longer term, the higher mortality rate. So 60% was stuck in my head. I understand that it's really hard to treat, and I think that it almost puts up a little bit of a block for me. But it also makes me want to make changes in the system of how it's approached. Walked through uni several times and walked down the street and overheard people say things. God, she looks sick. Yeah, anorexic and just stuff that made me want to wouldn't go out anymore. And that's where I got so much social anxiety.
Right, yeah, you're right. It is hard, that's true.
Nietzsche will always be my kid's sister, but she's an adult now.
Yes.
Yet she's still confronting the issues of her childhood. She's fiercely independent and private,
Yes.
and so isolated.
No, you're right.
We've both moved to the same city and our homes are close. Yet I have little part in her life. As family, I like to share each other's struggles.
It also has to work as their right to say that. Like, I felt so ashamed of myself, and so, yeah, I just internalized all that sort of, it's like, oh, it's just, I don't know much about it, it's just a natural reaction, and I'm the one that should feel at fault and cover up and not show that and not be vulnerable to that.
There's a lot of stigma. Most of the trauma and anxiety she's experienced seems to have come from others' judgments. She needs compassion and empathy from the big wide world.
It's about now not seeing myself as damaged because of that. I think the bits left are talking to myself with compassion and yeah, just working towards a little bit more self-love.
Niti has one big goal: to improve treatment for people with anorexia.
I want to have a holistic rehab centre in New Zealand that's really accessible. It would involve all sorts of different things that would just get them to connect with themselves again. And right now, like, it's out of the question. I know in my heart that I have to be, definitely better in both a physically and emotionally stable place for them to be able to trust me, and for me to be able to say to them, you're going to be okay, it's going to work. And I can see glimpses of light from there, but there's not clarity there. So until I have that, then I don't have a clear pathway.
With my experience, I didn't have really any other association with anyone that was going through an eating disorder. Specifically, I didn't have anyone. So, I mean, yeah.
It's been really lonely.
Really.
My sister's life has not been easy, but her experiences have made her strong and insightful. Anorexia is a complex and secretive illness, so it's taken tremendous courage for her to allow me to share her knowledge and experiences.
It's really freeing being able to talk about it and put it out there, because I think that the shame that can overcome has to keep it very private. So I think vulnerability is the way of stripping the shame back, and just being exposed, and people can kind of take me for what I am, and I don't have to feel like this is what I am. And it's freeing in the sense that I guess people will know that about me, and it's powerful that they will still accept me.
Dominique's got so much to offer. I just hope that when she sees this film, she recognises that too, that she is such a strong young woman.
How are you doing? I'm good. I can't believe it feels so hot out there again. It already feels like 60, doesn't it? Did you already do everything for your final due tomorrow? Okay, that's fine. I'm only asking because the main thing besides the anorexia video for today is like why self-awareness is so important, finishing up with this, and then that was it. So actually I'm gonna mute it until it gets past the first part, because there's that weird noise that sets off the algorithms. You ever had to do any awareness exercises?
What are we doing to teach the next generation about conflict and conflict
conflict resolution. What I'm seeing online often is that people are able to block one another or unfriend one another. And it's not really teaching us about resiliency and working through conflict, which can teach us a lot about trust and intimacy and bring people close together. So I'm going to share quickly about the conflict that I found myself in about 10 years ago. I survived it, I'm still here. And then also shift gears and talk about the framework that I use currently at my workplace. So about 10 years ago, I was in my first year of college, and a student tagged me on a Facebook post, making fun of another student who lived 2 doors down. And me being 18 and wanting so desperately to have a place where I belonged, I immediately liked that post and added my own comments of, "That's hilarious," even though it really wasn't. And by the time I hopped in the shower and came back to my dorm room, 5 or 6 students were waiting outside of my room to have a little conversation about this post. And I can still feel how embarrassed I am about that. And I tried to apologize then in the moment. Didn't really want to do that. And was really worried about how people would perceive me on campus. I even called my parents a couple of days later and said, "No, I have to try to transfer. I need to be late with this." Right? And instead, to make a long story short, I stayed on campus, we worked through it. I wouldn't say that we became best friends, but my second semester, we were in a place where she could really hear my full apology. And it really built up my resiliency to know that by going through that situation, we could have a little bit more trust and understanding of one another. So I want to talk about my workplace and how that connects to nonviolent communication, the topic of tonight. I work for the M.K. Gandhi Institute for Nonviolence, a nonprofit here in Rochester, New York. And we focus on building a sustainable, just world for all. And that really means looking at how we are showing up with one another. And at our workplace, we talk about if we're having a conflict, that we might take from text messaging and emailing to being in person. That we can see our facial cues, hear the tone of voice, being able to connect in a different way. And we also use a framework that's called nonviolent communication. And that was started by Marshall Rosenberg, an American psychologist here. Unfortunately, at this point, Marshall has passed away in 2015, but I wanted to share a short clip with you so that you could hear a little bit about his own work.
Refugee camp, Palestinian Authority. All the crowd had to do was hear from my interpreter. Yeah, one jumps up and screams, "Murderer!" and another one jumps up, "Assassin!" and another one calls me child killer. And within an hour, the guy that called me a murderer invites me to a Ramadan dinner in his house. I didn't care what he thought of me. I connected to what he was feeling, what he was needing.
I absolutely love that clip from Marshall because he's so piercing with what he has to say, and he's very intense. I think sometimes I'm an intense person as well, so I can really connect in that way. But underneath that intensity, another thing that I'm really appreciating is how Marshall is able to lean into that conversation. He's being faced with a lot of anger, which often means that people might shut down and want to get out of the situation. But instead, he was able to get curious about what's going on underneath this. What questions can I ask? And what I think really, if Marshall was alive right now, I'd like to ask him about is how deeply rooted in love is this model, right? Because to be able to show up with someone who's showing up to you, towards you with anger, is just an incredible feature to be able to do. And it's reminding me of a book that I'm reading right now. It's called Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Maree Brown. And it really connects this theme to deeply rooted love and how we can show up with one another and create better strategies that are for a win-win solution rather than a model of a win-lose, where I have to have power over you and you then have to have power over me. So she talks about imagining what it would look like if we're becoming more empathetic with one another, more vulnerable, and what that would do in shifting our relationships. So the model I want to talk about today is on nonviolent communication. And for this, there's just 4 easy steps. Start with an observation, and I'm asking folks to connect that to how we are feeling, and also reframing our relationship with feelings. Oftentimes, when we talk about this at the Gandhi Institute, that we are using Dr. Seuss book language when it comes to our emotions. Mad, bad, glad, sad, right? And there's a plethora of other words that we can use to substitute in about what's going on for us. And those are really indicating, again, how we're doing and ties directly into the needs that are underlying that. So when it comes to our needs, what values are most important to us? And how are we contributing that into the world? Lastly, we talk about requests. So right now, I've been doing a lot of talking. Let's say I'm getting a little thirsty and I might ask someone in the audience, do you mind if I have a glass of your water and have a little sip? And you might say no. You might have germs I don't want to share with you, right? Now, if I'm giving a true request, that means I have to be okay with your answer and honoring that answer is a no. Otherwise, and very critically to make that difference, otherwise I've just made a demand of you, right? So it's really important to look at the language of that. Also, if I just take your water, that creates a different type of conflict there. 2 other little points to connect into this framework is that our feelings are informing us whether our needs, those values are being met or unmet, and that every action that we are taking is an attempt to meet a need. So me being here right now, presenting this, and thinking of the needs that come up. My need for a sense of meaning and purpose in my life, my need for belonging, and feeling a part of the community. If those needs are being met, which they are right now, I might be feeling pretty happy, right? I feel like baby pictures, everyone gets excited about, you can't go wrong, right? And let's say I'm running out of time and they cut off my mic and the lights go out. And my need for consideration, my need to be understood, those aren't met at that time. So maybe I'm looking a little like this. I think I perfected the eye roll by age 2, right? So we can have these different emotions, we can have those also at the same time. We hear that, tears of joy. And so I want us again to just hone in and think about our relationship with emotions in a different way so that we can just see those as little indicators of how we are doing. Going back to this framework, I want to talk about an example that's really polarizing here in the US. I'm thinking about the example of the 2016 election. And prior to that, I want to just share about how it's the strategies in which we are using that is causing conflict. We have these universal needs and we have these universal feelings, but it's a strategy again. If I take your water, or if I ask for a glass of water, or if I change my strategy. Let's say I say, okay, you're not willing to share a cup of water with me right now. Could I use your cup of water after you're done? Would that work for you? Maybe that's the win-win solution, right? So I'm going to just quickly put up this observation of the 2016 election. And as that was coming up, I was feeling excited. I like to vote. This was going to be like my 3rd US president election that I could take part of. And as we got closer to that, I was also feeling a bit frustrated and scared because of the conversations that are happening, the candidates, the whole 9 yards. And my needs were around belonging, a sense of security, hope for the future. So my request to folks was to get out and vote. And also that's where some of the strategy in that conflict emerged. Because we saw people voting this way, and that way, and another way. And then some people who decided not to vote at all, and others who do not have the right to vote. So those are all the types of strategies that were being used. And again, that's where I want people to have their focus go to, instead of when we get back online, that we're seeing these different conflicts in the comments, that we can hone in and say, what strategy, is this strategy of moving this onto an online platform working? Or how can I invite this conversation to move to a place where we can have coffee, where we can have that face-to-face conversation? So a fun take-home assignment, if you would like, is that the next time you find yourself getting tense and find yourself in a conflict, I invite you to think about what needs and feelings might be most alive for you. Thank you.
I like how it's called human simplexity, which is kind of interesting. So what is going to be your hardest exam?
Wow, look at this.
When is that one?
Saturday.
Saturday?
Yeah, I think the math, I don't know, all because they got posted, my professor posted an email saying
Yeah.
the review will be closed Friday, but the final is Saturday and it will close at 5 o'clock.
I think that's all.
That's interesting. Okay. So you have 2 more days to study for it.
Yeah, I've been working on it.
Mhm.
Work on it. Like I'll do ones that not yesterday I got one question 15, but both days I forgot. I was figuring, and like she told me know what I'm supposed to do. And I got question 15 and I was kind of like tired. Like I didn't want to do it.
Right.
I was done.
Yeah, it's hard to motivate this time of year. That's why I'm trying to keep it simple and finish by 10 to give you guys time to do whatever else you need to do today. Do you have any questions for me or for next semester or how to live life moving on? How to register for classes?
I already read it. I have no
Okay.
like
Oh, yes, the money part.
yeah, you gotta have, like, they want you to take a payment plan.
Oh, boy. And that would be like getting a student loan even, or, okay. Interesting. All right, well, that's kind of the gist of what we've got. I'm here if you guys need me to like send an email and help you with getting into your classes next semester. Do you remember what you're taking? Any social work classes? Maybe.
I don't know, I'm taking classes that were required, but I gotta do it.
Mm-hmm.
Walking for fitness, introduction, that's my critical thinking, writing and research essay, public speaking, and social welfare.
Okay. Intro to social welfare. That's a good one. All right. Well, if you have any questions or concerns with it, we're here to help you. Just know that.
Who teaches social welfare?
It probably is Nikita, who's our field director, either Professor Hill or Nikita Jackson.
Okay. Are you gonna make us write a lot of things? Is that a lot of papers? If you gonna give me the same time frame, like 2 weeks,
I feel like it is a lot of papers, yes.
more than like the beginning, like 3 pages?
Probably a few pages at first.
We'll go to 10.
I don't think it will go up to 10. That's a lot. That's more like your junior and senior year. You'll be okay. Correct.